Hey everyone, HardlyBriefDan here with episode 5 of the October game of the month. This is Detective Dave, and I'm going to go ahead and do a quick review of what we went over last time, and then jump right in and start working on a few other things. So last time we took a break from doing some GUI stuff and started working on our evidence generator, and we kind of briefly discussed the different types of evidence that we're going to have, and basically we built a class that handled creating those pieces of evidence. And so with doing that, it's going to bring us to where what we're going to be doing today, where we're going to be working on, I guess what we're going to call the judgment class, where basically how the game is going to judge based on what the player submits as their final verdict of who robbed the bank and with what. So to go into that, I'm going to go ahead and open up all of our scripts that we had last time in Mono Develop. I'm going to go ahead and hold control and then use my mouse wheel to zoom in, and you can see here I'm in the evidence inventory class. I'm going to go ahead and move over to our evidence generator class and zoom out just a little bit. And this is what we wrote last time. We have we discussed the different types of evidence that we would have. We have a high type, which is basically the weapon that they used, whoever the suspect may be, and then we have 2 medium, low, and then we have trash. And we didn't finish building the trash pieces, but we can go ahead and do that today, and we'll add it to our evidence generator. I talked about how we could probably make these a little bit more, make this one big evidence function or method, but we don't. I decided that we'd keep it simple and not have to do that, and so we're repeating some code here. It's probably not the best idea, or it's not the most clean way to code, but it works. It gets the job done. But basically, what I wanted to do today is go ahead and finish up the trash, at least get some sort of trash evidence being generated, and make sure that works. And then I want to go ahead and add on to our evidence inventory, and basically we're going to be changing this class to just inventory, and we're going to add a new inventory called suspects, and that's going to store all of our suspects that we encounter. So basically my idea is when I get the artwork done and get it in the game, when you go to the bank for the first time and you click on someone, you're going to have that suspect stored in your biography. That suspect is going to be stored in the suspect inventory, and when you go to the case file scene, which is like what we decided I guess is our main menu scene, when you click that and you go to that, you will see the list of those people that you've met and the information about them. We're not going to say if they're a key witness or whatever, but that's just the idea. And the other thing that we're going to do, the other thing I want to do today is start our judgment script, or what I'm calling the judgment class, I guess, which is basically how we calculate a score depending on what the player submits. So when the player ends the game, or when they think they've solved the mystery, whether it's hard or not, when they decide to do it, they're going to choose a high piece of evidence. They're going to choose, or I guess they don't have to. My idea is they'll choose like 3 to 4 pieces of evidence, and then they'll choose a suspect who they think is the robber. And what we'll do is take all those inputs and judge, basically output a score based on what we think, based on what they did, and tell them if they're right or wrong. So that's really what we're going to work on today, but there's a couple things I want to add first before we go ahead and do that. And again, the first thing I want to do is go ahead and change this inventory class name to just inventory. And we're going to go ahead and add another public static list here, and it's going to be of type suspect, right? If you remember, suspect is a type that we created much like evidence, and it has a name, biography, and that kind of thing. And we're going to go ahead and label this suspect inventory, and we're going to set it equal to a new list of type suspect, and we're going to end it like that. Now, this is going to throw an error because we need to actually replace our C# script name. So I'm going to Control S to save. Double click this. I'm going to go ahead and copy it. Control C if you want. Control S everything. Exit out of the script because it's going to close it anyways. And in Unity, you'll see that there's an error being thrown. That's because it doesn't know what this is, because the class name needs to match its name. So just click on it twice and then Control V to paste inventory and hit enter, and it should find it now. I'm going to go ahead and console and just clear it, make sure. Oh, so we do have an error still. Oh, no. It should go away. Oh, we're actually calling that script apparently. There we go. Just go ahead. And this is in the case file GUI. We actually add this temp evidence here. I'm going to go ahead and just rename it. This is where I talked about, this is going to go away, but I talked about, I told you guys basically how to add things like an inventory, how to add objects. In this case, we're adding a evidence type object here to our inventory. And that's how it was done with this evidence inventory.add. And this is actually the same line of code we're going to be using. When you click on a person, when we get to that, hopefully in the next video, when you click on a person and they introduce themselves, we're going to go ahead and click add that suspect. Whoever that suspect is, it's going to be game object, it's going to be like person. We're going to go ahead and add that to your suspect inventory, and then in the case file, you can go ahead and open that up and see who they are. Okay, so now what I want to do is jump in to our case generation script. It's getting pretty long now. There's a lot of debug statements that can go away, but we're going to keep them now because we want to make sure we're actually generating evidence correctly. But what I want to do is we need to go ahead and create 3 public variables for now, and they're going to be our trash evidence. And these evidence, we'll make it 1. This is going to be the stuff that doesn't matter that the player might be able to pick up, and they might think is important, but most likely is not. And this in the game, if they submit a piece of trash, it's going to give a lower score. So we'll go ahead and say 3. I believe I said 3 pieces of trash, right? Well, let's check. 3. Yep. Okay, so here are the 3 pieces of trash evidence here that we're going to use. And if you remember, this is the same thing we did last time with our high, medium, low. We gave them specific, we're going to generate. So this is basically all the evidence we're going to generate. We're going to generate 8 pieces of evidence per game with 2 key witnesses and and then a robber. And we'll probably end up creating a couple other witnesses that don't matter, and we won't label them key witnesses, but we'll get to that a little bit later. So what we'll do now is go ahead and work on the function that we need to do in our evidence generator script. So remember we created these little methods here. This one's public evidence generate new low type. I'm actually just going to go ahead and copy this whole thing. Oh, no, I deleted it. That's not what we want to do. I'm going to go ahead and copy it, or Control-C, whichever floats your boat. And then I'm going to go ahead and Control-V to paste. And I'm going to change this to from generate new load to generate new trash. Control-S to save. What we need to do is go ahead and add our new strings here. So again, I'm going to go ahead and copy these 2 up here. And remember, the randomness is going to come from however many things you decide to add. So if you want to add 100 different types of trash evidence that can be spawned, then you want to go ahead and do that. So now what we need to do is change this from low to trash evidence names. Very simple. You guys might have already done this. Maybe you went ahead and did it. And good on you for doing that and trying it out. But what we want to do now is think of some names. We need at least 3, so I'll probably try to do 4. Let's say, what is something that doesn't matter? We'll say crumpled paper. I don't know if that's even how you spell crumpled. Crumpled paper, we'll do, let's see, doorstop, maybe. I guess everything really could be, depending on how many cases there are, anything could be really important, but we're not going to get that in depth because it'll take too much. Let's see, extra light bulb. That's a broom. Like maybe by a closet there's a broomstick or something. And then we'll go ahead and say magazine. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and change. We already changed the trash evidence to trash, or the string to trash evidence descriptions. And excuse me, this is a list, not an array. I'm thinking this is a string, a list of type string, not an array. But we're going to go ahead and start adding our descriptions. So crumpled paper is a, let's say, an older piece of paper lying in the corner. And again, the way I'm approaching this is kind of make it seem not that important. Low evidence might be, a footprint is kind of a big deal, but it's gonna be harder for us to do. So it's low, and I was kind of trying to make it with the descriptions, kind of let the player guess that it's not too important, but don't be so. I mean, you can be as obvious or hard as you want. It's up to you. But my idea was this to make it a little obvious that these aren't that important. So like for this doorstop, it could be like, and maybe you don't need all these types of evidences, right? Maybe you only need high, medium, low. But basically, we'll say doorstop appears to be a doorstop. Every door has one, like that. Like that. Go ahead and just, oh goodness, it's shifting back and forth. It's kind of annoying like that, isn't it? Super annoying that's doing that. Okay. Appears to be a doorstop. Every door has one. We'll go ahead and erase everything up to that period. Now we have a broom. A used broom. Maybe put it, I don't know, put it back in the closet. Maybe he found it in a janitor's closet. And then we'll go ahead and do one more, and then we'll move on. And magazine. A magazine with financial, let's say with money tips in it. There we go. All right. So now we have 4 items that we can choose from. We'll go ahead and replace all of our low evidence stuff that we just copied to our trash evidence name. So I'm going to go up here to the trash evidence names list here, the variable. I'm going to go ahead and Control-C to copy. I'm going to go down into our generate new trash evidence type evidence method and replace the low evidence name with a copied one. So like that, evidence name. Now I'm going to go ahead and go up and copy the description, and by doing that we should have, we need to change evidence type to trash. So if you just double click where it said it and just type TR, you should get trash if you're following along exactly with me. Maybe you named it differently. But now we have the function. Now we can generate 3 types of trash. It's going to do the same remove thing that we did last time, so that it only can pick one. Again, if you don't want to do that, if you would like to find multiple things, totally up to you. If you want to increase the numbers, this is where you can go ahead and go above and beyond and create what you want. So now what we need to do is call this function. So in our case generation script here, we have where we do it, right? We have a medium type evidence 1, 2, and this is where we create it all. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is copy this low type one. Enter, paste it all again. I'm going to go ahead and copy, since we're creating 3 pieces, I want to go ahead and copy the bottom one again and just double or Control V to paste it, so we have 3 here. And I'm going to go up and copy our trash evidence 1 and replace the low type evidence 1. Pretty simple stuff, just Control C, Control V, double click, Once you start doing this enough, you get pretty fast at it. There might be better ways to do this too. And if you know one, let me know right down in the comments below. Okay, so now we've generated our trash. I'm going to go ahead, and we need to actually go ahead and call the function here. Instead of generate new low type, we'll go ahead and generate trash. And I'll double click that, Control C to copy, and then Control V to paste. Alright, so we're creating the 3 types. We'll go ahead and jump into Unity, and we seem to have an error still. This is our create inventory list here in our case file GUI. And this just needs to change from evidence inventory to just inventory. There we go. Looks good. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and press play and go in our, it's loading. Let it load a minute. Hit new game. We'll go to our console, and we should see all the things that we've created. So we can see that we have a robber here. And we actually have the problem with our key witness, so that's pretty interesting. But anyways, we see we have a robber here. We're generating a new case. His name's Bill. He's 45, and he's a robber. He's male. We generate a key witness. His name's Dan. He's 21. He also is a robber, which is something we need to change. Looks like I think it's because I didn't add enough descriptions. But we also have Bob here. He's 34, and he's also a robber. He's male. They're all male this time. So we have a knife. With a description. We also have a fingerprint, and we have a note. We have money, a pen, and a magazine, and a broom, and a doorstop. So those are all the objects we created. I'm going to go ahead and do it again. New game. Go ahead and check it out. See what we generated this time. We have a robber, Christina. She's 29. She's female. We have Jessica, 32, and Stacy, female. Now that's interesting. I wonder if they all happen to be female and male. I wonder if hopefully it fluctuates, or we might have just found a problem. Stacy, Tom, and Don. Okay, cool. All right. So now that we have that, we've added our other inventory. We've creating all of our types of evidence. We can actually start working on our judgment class. And so what I'm going to do is on our scripts folder, I'm going to right click, create, and we're going to go ahead and create a new C# script. And I'm going to label this judgment script. I guess we'll just say judgment. And in the judgment class, we're going to have one method, one big function. And I'm going to go ahead and delete this because we're not going to inherit from auto behavior, I don't think. But what this is going to be, it's going to be a public, it'll be a void int, actually, because we're going to go ahead and return a score. So it's going to be a public int, and it's going to be judge player's choices. Okay? And what this is going to do is, at the end, we are going to allow the player to send in 3 or 4 pieces of evidence and a suspect who they believe is the person. So the way this can be handled is you could have when let's say we have a button on our screen. Say we're in the game, we have a button on the screen. It comes up and it says you click. It says judge or finished, and you click it, and it says okay. Using your inventory, your suspect inventory, and your item inventory, go ahead and add. Go ahead and choose what you think, the most important pieces are. Right. So you choose the evidence pieces that you think are most important, and you choose the suspect you believe is the robber. Now, what we want to do is we want to pass all that information to our judgment thing, and then our judgment method, and then the judgment method will go ahead and decide whether or not you're right, and go ahead and send you a score. So one way you can do this is, the way we're going to do it is we're going to go ahead and send this thing an array of items or evidence, and then a suspect. So we'll go ahead and say the first thing it needs is a suspect, and this is going to be chosen. We'll call it chosen suspect, and then we'll go ahead and send it one more thing, which is going to be an evidence array, and this will be chosen evidence. Okay, so the chosen evidence is going to be probably 3 or 4 long. We can decide when we get to it. And then it's going to need one suspect. Now, before, at the very beginning of this, we talked about whether or not having 1 or 2 suspects. If you're having 2, then here you're going to want to be able to send it maybe an array of 2, maybe array or both of them if you're doing that. It's up to you. But this is the way I'm going to handle multiple pieces of evidence with an array here. So then now what we want to do is we want to go ahead and say return. Actually, we'll leave that now. But what we want to do is kind of set point values. Now, there's a few ways you can do this. I'm going to go ahead and just set private constants, right? And all these constants are going to be the score values of what you can get. So for this one, the first thing we're going to work on is a suspect. So if you chose the correct thing, if you chose the robber as your suspect, then you're going to get max amount of points. So we're going to say robber points. Like that, and we're going to go ahead and set that to, I'm going to say 2,500. Now, point values don't mean anything. This is all up to you. It could be out of 100 if you want. 100% means you're perfect. And maybe I'll do that, but I don't know. I feel like having bigger point values can be fun. So I feel like majority of people like seeing larger numbers most of the time than smaller numbers. But they are all arbitrary. Now, the constant means it's telling the compiler that this number is never going to change. Just so you know. So we're going to make another one, and we're going to say key witness, key wit. We'll say key wit points. Okay, and this is going to be equal to 1,500. And remember, I'm just pulling these numbers out of nowhere, out of the sky. And this is going to be, we'll just say witness. Actually, let me go ahead and look that up. I forgot what we called that suspect. Wrong one. Okay. None and witness. Okay. So, judgment. Okay, so if it's a witness, points, we're going to say it's 500. Oh, forgot my equal sign here. So 500. So now you can see right away that for a total score, if you want to get 100%, you need the robber points, which is obviously max. And then we're going to go ahead and do the same thing based on witnesses. Evidence. So if you have, let's say we're going to get 3. Well, let's just do, let me go ahead and comment this actually first. These are, let's see, suspect points. And we'll go ahead and do evidence points. So, like that. Okay, so then we'll make another private const. It'll be an int. And we're going to go ahead and label this, let's see, high points. And we'll go ahead and set this equal to 1500. Again, these are just arbitrary values. We'll go private const int medium points. Set this equal to 1000. Private const. Oh no, that's not what we want. We don't want serialized. Private const int low points. Set the equal to 500, and then we'll go ahead private const int trash points. I bet you can guess it's going to be 0. What do you think? Should we do that? Should we give the player something for trash? Let's give them 100. We'll be nice. Right, and actually, because we actually do have a suspect called none, we'll go ahead and do that one. I don't know if we're going to use it now, but we'll do none points. And we'll set that equal to 100. Okay, so now let's say that we're going to send in 3 items. Okay, so we have 3 items and a suspect. That means that they can get high points, which means they get 1500 plus 2000 for the 2 medium, assuming they send in the best stuff. So that's 3500 plus the 2500 for the robber points, which is what? That's like 6000. So for the max score, it'd be 6000. Now this, I guess, is kind of weird. 6000 is pretty. What does that mean? You could assign point values to all of this, and then just count. You could do 25, 15, 5, and 1. I guess. And I guess that would be 600, and then you divide by, yeah, I don't know. It's up to you. Again, it's just a random point value. Whatever floats your boat. So what we want to do now is go ahead and figure out what this chosen suspect is. So when we send it this, we need to look at it and look at its type, right? So we created this suspect that has a type to it. Has witness, robber, or none, or key witness, right? So if it's one of these types, we can look at it and decide the point value. So a couple things you can do. You can do if statement or switch statement. So we're going to go ahead and just do a switch case. So we'll say switch, and we'll do chosen. I think it's chosen suspect dot type get. Oh no, suspect no. Suspect type like that, and then we'll go ahead and do our cases. So if the case, this case here, if it's suspect type, if the suspect type is suspect types dot robber, like that, then that's one case, right? So we can go ahead and do Control S to save. I'm gonna go ahead and copy that, and we need a break statement here so I can get out of here. Something I did is wrong here. Okay, here we go. Yep. Alright, so we have a suspect type robber, we have a key witness, we have, I'll go ahead and copy this like that, Control C, Enter, Control V. Our other cases here are going to be witness and then none. Now you might be wondering, why in the world did I put these points here when you could just assign them here? Well, what we're going to do is create a public or a private variable here, private int, and it's going to be total score. Right, we're going to go ahead and set it equal to 0 at the start just to make sure. Right, and then what we'll do now is, using these constant values, which is smarter because now all you have to do is come up here and edit it, we can go ahead and call them. So we'll say total score is plus equals to our robber points. Right, so now I'm going to tab that over, just highlight and press tab. So now when, oh, why is it doing that? Okay, so now If the suspect we send in is a robber, we're going to go ahead and add we're going to add our robber points to the total score, and then we're just going to go down and switch into and then we're going to go ahead and check evidence after that. So I'm going to go ahead and copy that. I'm actually just going to go ahead and replace this break statement like that. I'm just highlighting and Control-Ving, pretty simple. And then I'm going to highlight everything and hit Tab. Just make it look a little prettier. We want to change this to key witness points. Key wit points. Then we have witness points. And then the last one is none points. Right, so now we have the switch case for that, which is perfect. But now what we need to do is once we do that, it's going to break out of the switch case and it's going to jump down to here, right? So it's going to run this code. So what we can do is say total, we'll do a debug statement. Debug log total score, and well, actually what we'll do is say score for suspect. It's a little more descriptive, and then we'll say total score like that. Make sure we do a little enter here, or space, so we can see it. This won't run right away because we don't have the rest of the code set up, but don't worry about that, we'll get to it. Okay, so now what we need to do is check the evidence. So what we're going to do is create a for loop. We're going to run through the array of the for loop with a for loop, and we're just going to do the same switch case thing. So we're going to go ahead and create a for loop here. It'll be a for int I is going to be equal to 0, which is our counter. We're going to go I is less than our chosen evidence length, so chosen evidence dot length. So it's going to run for the length of the array, and we're going to add 1 to I every time it runs, every time it iterates, right? It's a basic for loop. This just, you're initializing a variable called I, which is a counter basically, and we're going to set equal to 0. This sets how long it's going to run, so we're going to run I as long as I is less than the length of our array, which in this case will most likely be 3. And then we're going to go ahead and say, well, this can change. Like if we want to give them 4, this will handle that. Then we're going to use that, say run it for that long, and then every time it runs, go ahead and add 1 to I. Pretty simple. I'm going to go ahead and copy the switch case because we need it. So I'm going to go ahead and do Control-V here. And now, instead of chosen suspect type, we're going to go ahead and do chosen evidence, like this, chosen evidence of I. And instead of suspect type, it's going to be evidence type. Right? So now what's happening is we're looking at each evidence. So the first one's going to be the index value 0. So it's going to look in our array at the index value of 0, which if you remember we talked about is the first position. So if I go ahead and go back to the evidence generator, here we have a high evidence names array, and the first position, which is position 0 or index value 0, is knife, right? So in our judgment class, we're saying chosen evidence of I, which at first is going to be 0, so it's going to point to that position, and we're going to look at its evidence type. And we're going to say if evidence, for the first case, if evidence of evidence type is type high, oh, I didn't find it. Let's see, dot evidence types dot high, then we're going to go ahead and add high points to our total score. Right, and so I'm going to go ahead and copy this evidence type high, and I'm going to replace our key with our suspect stuff. It's going to do that real fast, not too hard. And we're going to change high to medium, and then high to low, and then high to trash. So those are our 4 types, and we want to go ahead and change our key wit points to medium. We'll change our witness points to low points, and then the final one will change none points to trash points. Okay, so let me explain a little bit what's going to happen. This for loop is going to run after we decide what our suspect is, and once we decide what our suspect is, it's going to jump out again to this for loop. This for loop is going to run however many times it needs to, depending on the length of the chosen evidence array. The chosen evidence array is the evidence that we allow the player to add for their judgment. So if we decide later on that we want to give them the ability to add 20 pieces of evidence, then we can go ahead and add 20 pieces of evidence, and this for loop will handle that. It will do that and calculate the score based on however many evidence pieces you want them to have. So it's going to run the length of that, and each time it does it, it's going to look at whatever I value it's on. So the first one, it's going to say, hey, what's chosen evidence index value of 0, which let's say we send it the knife. So that means it's a high type, right? It's a weapon. So if we say chosen evidence 0, which is knife, so knife, what's the evidence type of a knife? Well, it's high. So it's going to jump down to this case here, and it's going to say, well, our evidence type is high, so therefore I need to go ahead and add high points value to our total score. And our total score, remember, started at 0. It got added depending on this. It got added a certain amount depending on the suspect, and it's going to run as many times as it needs to for our score. So now I'm going to go ahead and debug this statement here, and what we'll do, Control V, is we're going to say total score. And so hopefully, not hopefully, but when this runs, when we run our judgment class, it's going to go ahead and calculate our total score, and that's actually what we can go ahead and return. So we'll do return score, total score. Now, I believe we might run into an issue. Might just jump. Well, actually, never mind. Okay, so now the question comes, how can we test this? Oh, sorry for hitting the mic. How can we test this to make sure it works? We can go ahead and generate these few pieces of... actually, what we'll do is, in our case generation script here, we will go ahead and send it the perfect values. So after we decide our, after we do all these creation things, we're going to go ahead and call this function, this judge player's choices. And so what we'll do is, at the top, you remember how we did this private evidence generator, evidence gen script? We're going to go ahead and do one for judgment. So we'll go private judgment, and we'll do our judgment script like that. We'll set it equal to a new instance of it, like that. We're going to go ahead and scroll all the way down past where we have our low evidence, and we'll do judgment script dot judge player choices. And now it takes a suspect, so we're going to go ahead and send it robber, and it takes an array of items, which we don't have yet. So what we'll do is go up here to the top. We'll create an array really fast. So we'll say private private evidence array. It's going to be equal to a new, we got to give it a name. We'll say selected evidence. It's going to be equal to a new evidence array, and I believe we'll just go ahead and set it to 3, right? Okay, so now we have our array. It's called selected evidence. I'm going to go ahead and paste this down in our judgment script here, and remember this returns a value. So what we'll do is we'll just go debug .log, and we're going to go ahead and just debug log this entire statement here. Now let me make sure we don't have any errors, and we don't. There's one thing we need to go ahead and do, and is add selected evidence, the actual pieces to the script here, so, or to our array. So what we'll do is we'll say selected evidence of 0, which is, remember, is the index value of 1, is going to be equal to our high type evidence. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and hold Control and Shift and use the left arrow key to highlight all that. Control C to copy, Control V to paste, Control V to paste. And I'm going to go ahead and change these values to 0, 1, and then 2. So these are our 3 positions. The next 2 pieces we're going to send item medium 1 and then medium 2. So now when we go ahead and call this function, we're going to go ahead and send it to our robber that we created, right? This suspect robber. And then we're going to go ahead and send it a piece of high type and 2 pieces of medium, because it's 3 length. And hopefully, again, we should get 2,500 plus 1,500, which is 4,000, plus 2,000, 1,000 for each medium, which should be 6,000 total. So I'm going to go ahead and press play, and we'll go ahead and hit new game, and we should see 6,000 down there, which we do, which is awesome. So you can actually go ahead and see it says our score for suspect is 2,500 and our total score is 6,000. So it's working. Our script is working perfectly. Now this is where you can go ahead and make some. You can do some fun things. You can say, let's look at some ranges. So maybe you want to decide whether or not the person got it right or wrong. Maybe they need to be perfect. Maybe to get a good judgment. So maybe what you could do is do a percentage thing. Say maybe like deliver final verdict could be a function in here. And what it could do is you send it the score. Actually, we go ahead and talk about that now. See how much time we got. Yeah. So what we could do is create a little private function down here, or public, excuse me, and say public int. Actually void. I don't know what we'll return yet, and we'll say deliver. We'll say final verdict. And actually, you could return a bool if you want. I probably won't do this whole thing because we're running short on time now. Get up to about 40 minutes. But what final verdict could be do is you can send it the score, total score. So int total score. And then based on percentages, you can go if total score is if total score is between these values. So if you know the total score maximum, can be 6,000. Maybe you want between 5,000 and 6,000, so you can do an if statement. You say, if total score is less than or equal to 6,000, or which are those lines, or total score is going to be greater than or equal to 5,000, then maybe the final verdict is true, right? You can return true. Let's actually make this a bool. So you go bool, return true, right? And if it returns true, that means it's guilty. And then you can go just control shift up, left arrow keys to highlight all this, control C to copy. We'll do else, control V to paste. Doing this kind of quick, I apologize. I just want to go ahead and show you this. You actually just do else, and then just do else return false. And this would be an innocent, right? So basically what's happening here is if you call this function, it's going to go ahead and return a bool, and if it's true, that means that they're guilty, and if it's false, it means they're innocent. If it's false, then you didn't have enough points to prove that they did it, and if it's guilty, then you don't. But again, that's up to you. 5,000 pretty means you need substantial evidence, so that's pretty good. You can do percentage based if you want. I just wanted to show you how to do that real quick. But basically, we have our judgment done. It's very simple. Again, we're not trying to do anything complex with the series, so we have a very simple judgment script. We send it a suspect and some evidence pieces, and depending on that, we'll determine whether or not we did a good job and found who robbed the bank and what he used, or he or she used, excuse me. In the next video, we're going to go ahead and continue working on this, and hopefully I'll have some artwork done. Pretty slow about it. I'm kind of picky, even though my artwork sucks, but I am still kind of picky about it. So hopefully I can get that done. We'll go ahead and move on to some more GUI stuff and actually add these items to the world, and then it's just kind of fine-tuning gameplay from there and maybe adding some sounds. So hopefully you stick around for the rest of the series. We will finish by the end of the month, so that'll be good. We'll end our second game that we've done together as a community. Pretty excited about that. Please like, subscribe, comment. Let me know what you think, what you hate. Love hearing all the feedback, and I'll talk to you guys next time.